Good morning. Welcome to the Universalist Church, in which love is the spirit. We are glad you are here, whether you're here in the sanctuary today or anywhere in the world on our live stream. I'm Sherri Englehart-Shea, one of your representatives on the Board of Trustees. If you're a visitor, we hope you'll sign one of our guest books at either entrance to the sanctuary or visit our webpage, westhartforduu.org, to learn more. There, you can use the contact page to get onto our electronic mailing list, which is the best way for us to stay connected. We look forward to helping you become a part of the Universalist Church. We'll have fellowship through Zoom and in Fisk Hall after worship. If you need help finding your way to Fisk Hall for our fellowship hour and our pop-up pancake brunch today, any member of the church will be happy to guide you. Just look for someone wearing a Universalist Church name tag. You can find the link for Zoom Fellowship in your weekly news or our Breeze calendar. If you aren't getting the weekly news, please do so. Please sign up for it on our website. And now I invite you to take a moment to make your mobile phone silent, turn off your email, put your keyboards away, and settle in for worship.
What joy it is to ride If you have a home chalice, I invite you to light it as we light ours here in the sanctuary. Amy Brooks and Jean Wallstrom write, "Even when the days grow shorter, our homes shrink smaller, our wicks burn lower, and even if our will to endure flickers, we light this chalice. This beacon light of lanterns guiding travelers home, the warmth of hearth fires tended through generations, the transforming energy of furnaces, and the power and life of our sun. May these blessings, warmth and light and life-giving energy, laughter and joy, the sharing of our hearts, may it all draw us into community that opens us up in gratitude for the breath in our lungs and the life in our limbs, the love in our hearts, everything that tells us that we are, on this day, alive." Our opening hymn is number 55 in the gray hymnal. Number 55, please rise in body or in spirit here in the sanctuary or wherever you are as we sing together. Please join me in speaking the words of our affirmation, our covenant. It's printed in your order of service and in the description online. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated. One of the things that I am figuring out about today in particular is that the congregation, the church, the faith that I grew up in would never have sung Jingle Bells at the start of worship. We would never have had that kind of moment of joy. And wait a minute, what is this? And why does it sound different? And I'm sorry, he didn't help you up, he just drove away in the sleigh? What? That never would have happened. Something else that never would have happened in the church that I grew up in is we never would have had a Sunday to talk about the winter solstice. Everything would have focused on Christmas and only on Christmas, and not about this part of our lives that happens every year, that we observe ourselves, that isn't just a story, but is a piece of who we are. And what that means is that I'm very, very, very grateful to be here with all of you so that we can have these moments of joy and an opportunity to talk about this thing that we all experience that is so much a part of this holiday season. And so here's what I want to talk to you about today in particular for our time for all ages. How many of you are afraid of the dark? I see some hands. I don't see a lot of hands. Okay, I see some little hands creeping up now and then. Yes. All right, that's fair. That's fair. How many of you were afraid of the dark but aren't anymore? Okay, that's good. For those of you who were afraid of the dark but aren't anymore, I want you to think about what changed. What happened to help you say, oh, this is no big deal? But for the moment, for those of you who said you are afraid of the dark, I would love to hear from you. What is it that you're afraid of? What does the dark make you afraid of? Yes. The coyotes, okay. That's a real thing to be afraid of if you're in the wrong spot, especially if you're a very small dog or cat. Yeah. Yes.
A bad man that's going to hurt me.
Okay. All right. So being afraid of a bad man that's going to hurt you or any other human being that might be a threat to us, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. The unknown. That is something that I think a lot of people are afraid of, whether it's in the dark or not. But yes. What else? Yes. Monsters. Yeah, that's something to be afraid of in the dark. I remember being afraid of monsters when I was a kid. Yes. I can't quite hear you. Bumping into trees outside. This is actually a very reasonable fear. So one of the things about darkness that makes us afraid is that for those of us who rely on our eyes to tell us what's happening out in the world, darkness means that we know less about what's out there. Whether it's trees or coyotes or people, it all becomes a bit of the unknown. In the unknown, there might be monsters. We don't know. We haven't seen them. We can't discount that there might be something out there that we've never come across before. So for those of you who aren't afraid of the dark anymore, what changed? Do you remember?
I'm more in control of my environment.
You're more in control than you were when you were afraid. That makes a lot of sense. It is easier to be less afraid when you are more in control. Absolutely. One of the things that you were afraid of never happened. That makes sense. None of the things that you were afraid of ever happened. Even better. Whew. All right, yes. Okay, so now there's technology that offers you light when you most need it. That's fair, yes. You learn more. A coyote cannot get into your house unless you leave your door open, which I assume you do not do. Excellent, yes.
A friend told me that if you're going to use your imagination, try to imagine something good.
If you're going to use your imagination, imagine something good rather than monsters. Yes. Yeah. being forced to sleep in the dark and then realizing that nothing bad happened. Yeah. Yes, please.
Having come through the dark time and again successfully.
Having come through the dark time and time again successfully. Very good. Okay, yes. Oh, your age. You grew up a little bit, and that changed things. Yeah, that makes sense too. So here's one of the things that I think is quite remarkable. For me, when I learned to not be afraid of the dark anymore, it was because I learned to actually love the dark. So what I hear from so many of you is, I learned to survive it. I thought differently. It was okay. But I haven't heard a lot of you say, I got to see all the stars, and it changed how I thought about this darkness, right? By being in the dark, my eyes got to rest. It made it easier to sleep. Not just I was forced to sleep in it, though that's good too if that's what it took, but by being in the darkness, I got to be in a place that was safe and warm and quiet and still. Now, not everybody has that experience. Not everybody's sleeping time feels safe and comfortable and warm and still. But there are many different ways to appreciate darkness. Many different ways to love what's out there, whether it's the full moon or the stars or the shapes of the trees so that you can just about see them rather than bump into them. The darkness is not actually something that we need to be afraid of. It makes sense sometimes that we are, because it's not what makes our lives easiest, especially if we rely on our eyes. But the dark is actually something that can be wonderful and beautiful. It can be calming. It can be restful. And like we're going to do today, we're going to talk about so many different ways in which the darkness is actually good for us. But now, we're going to sing our children and their teachers out to their classes. And today, everybody, no matter how old you are, you're all going to go to the program center right behind the sanctuary for your class today. Our song is number 413 in the Gray Hymnal, Go Now in Peace.
Now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Our offering, the sharing of our resources for our shared work as a religious community, is a spiritual practice for us. By offering your time, talent, and treasure to this community, you help us to serve our members, our friends, and the wider community of this congregation as well. And so as part of that service, we share our general offering each week with organizations that do work in the world that brings us ever closer to creating beloved community. This month, we're sharing the offering with the Minister's Discretionary Fund. It's a fund in which we can make the world an easier place for one another in times of hardship. People come to me and say, hey, I'm having trouble paying my rent, or buying groceries, or paying for my heat, or many other things. And because of you, I get to say, tell me how I can help. And then I get to offer people a little bit of assistance. We can't fix everything through the Minister's Discretionary Fund, but we can definitely make life easier. And so by sharing our offering today with that fund, your gifts will make it possible for us to help one another all year round. To give electronically today, please use the QR codes on your order of service or the links in the description or those on our website to make your donation to our offering. And here in the sanctuary, our offering will now be gratefully received. May these gifts, so generously given, sustain the life of this community, the work we do together, and make a difference in the lives of those who are beyond and within our walls too. Thank you. Thank you. Please rise, in body or in spirit, as we speak our congregational reading. It's number 543 in the gray hymnal. Number 543, called Winter. I'll read the words in Roman type, and we'll respond with the words in unison. Let us not wish away the winter. It is a season to itself, not simply the way to spring. When trees rest, growing no leaves, gathering no light, they let in sky and trace themselves delicately against dawns and sunsets. The clarity and brilliance of the winter sky delight. The loom of fog softens edges, lulls the eyes and ears of the quiet, awakens by risk the unquiet. A low, dark sky can snow, emblem of individuality, liberality, and aggregate power. Snow invites to contemplation and to sport. Winter is a table set with ice and starlight. Winter dark tends to warm light, fire and candle. Winter cold to hugs and huddles. Winter want to gifts and sharing. Winter danger to visions, plans, and common endeavoring, and the zest of narrow escapes. Winter tedium to merrymaking. Let us therefore praise winter, rich in beauty, challenge, and pregnant negativities. Let's join in singing our doxology. It's in your order of service and the description online.
Praise God, the love we all may share. Praise God, the beauty everywhere. Praise God, the hope of good to be. Praise God, the truth that makes us free. Amen.
Please be seated. Today I have something to share with you on behalf of the congregation. Joan B., Beth B.'s mother and a member of this church who hasn't been around for a little while now, is in hospice care at home. Prayers for Joan and the entire family are very welcome. We pray today with the words of Linda Hart. In the quiet of this moment, let us take a common breath. Let us feel our muscles unclench. Let us open our hearts to one another, to ourselves, and to whatever it is that we know to be holy, however we may think of it or name it. Whatever it is that we know to be precious, necessary, life-giving. We are here and now bearing the whole of our lives. We bring with us the worries and troubles of our days, sometimes overwhelming, sometimes loss beyond words, now or impending. Sometimes pain, sometimes struggle known only in the deepest parts of our hearts. If this is what you bring today, here in this quiet, joined with one another, may you find ease. May you find a way to release your heart from those sorrows and discomforts. May you find a moment of peace. We arrive here and now in this moment with the freshness of love, the grace of small treasures, the delight of the world, hope and faith, knowing well that there is a promise in this and each dawning day, even after the longest of nights. And so if this is what you bring today, here in this moment of quiet, may you lift up your heart in gratitude for the gift of your life and the gift of the lives around you, taking a moment in thanksgiving, in joy, in contentment. For those of us who bring all of this and more, may you find in this community a place where you can be whole, where you can be all of who and what you are. It is written to that everything there is a season, and in our hearts we know that this is true. Let us take a moment in stillness together to be with the fullness of our hearts. in the quiet of this moment, let us take another common breath. Relax our bodies, our hearts, and our minds. And knowing that today the earth is spiraling on from its solstice, and in that let us open to the blessed darkness, praising renewal that comes in the dark and with the slow return of the light. May it be so. Amen.
Our first reading is adapted from Embracing the Darkness at the Winter Solstice by Druid teacher Dana O'Driscoll. The period of time around the winter solstice, when the light of the sun is weak and our days are so short, is a period of difficulty for many. Darkness is something that we fear in industrialized cultures. It is something that we work to drive away through our own inventions and ingenuity. If a room's lights aren't bright enough, we call them dim and see this as a deficiency, working to make them brighter. We are driven to turn on the lights at the first sign of darkness, to quest to drive it away. I think maybe that's part of the challenge we face. The frenzied culture works hard to keep us always going, doing. Time for deep introspection and reflection is generally not encouraged. Yet, the darkness asks us, individually, to be with only ourselves and our own thoughts. It is this darkness where we can commune with Spirit in waking dreams or in sleep, in meditation, and in visionary, imaginative work. It allows us time to sort through things. It gives us space and distance from everything that surrounds us, and allows us rest and quiet. Darkness gives us balance and perspective. Our second reading is Sweet Darkness by poet David Whyte. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. When your vision has gone, no part of the world can find you. Time to go into the dark, where the night has eyes to recognize its own. There you can be sure you are not beyond love. The dark will be your home tonight. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. You must learn one thing: the world was made to be free in. Give up all the other worlds except the one to which you belong. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn. Anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you.
Are you familiar with the painter Maxfield Parrish? Okay, so I never do this, but I'm going to suggest that if you are not, you pull out your smartphones and do a quick Google search for Maxfield Parrish, Parrish. And I would encourage you to look particularly for a painting called At Close of Day, or another one called Blue Fountain. At Close of Day or Blue Fountain. My guess is that if you bring up his name, you're going to see some paintings that you will have seen before, even if you did not know that they were by him. He's a painter and illustrator who, when he first started working, was in the Art Nouveau period, and his work kind of changed and grew from there, but he had a love of sort of classical fantasy as well as incredibly beautiful and colorful realism that's a little heightened. He is one of my favorite painters because he paints darkness so beautifully. He knows how to include enough color through these deep and luminous cobalt blues and teals and purples so that it appears that you are seeing darkness. But what you're actually seeing is light. The truth is, we spend a lot of time thinking that we are seeing darkness. But what we're actually seeing is just much, much less light than we are accustomed to experiencing. Human eyes do not really work in actual darkness. We don't see things in real darkness, except for our own nervous systems creating the flashing of lights or little images that may look to us like faces or monsters or something like that. It's just a remnant of our own nervous systems. We don't see darkness. So Dana O'Driscoll, a Druid teacher and the leader of her community, writes, "Darkness is something that we fear in industrialized cultures. It's something that we work to drive away through our own inventions and ingenuity. If a room's lights aren't bright enough, we call them dim. And we see this as a deficiency, working to make the room brighter." She says something else, too. She says, "Our problem with darkness likely stems from a lot of different sources, but major religions being one of them. Many of the major world religions have spent literally millennia emphasizing driving away the darkness with holy light, ascending beyond this world, associating with the light, with the good, and with up. These same religions have taught us that anything associated with the earth or the darkness or the depths is somehow corrupt and not good. And that is now woven so deeply into our cultural consciousness, our culture's mythologies. How many stories can you think of? Myths, books, urban legends, movies, where something dark and evil comes from below. The poet Marge Piercy doesn't really address that, but her poem, In the Grip of the Solstice, still notes that this time of year is challenging in the colder parts of the northern hemisphere because of light and temperature alone. Feels like a train roaring into night, the journey into fierce cold just beginning. The ground is newly frozen, the crust brittle and fancy with striations, steeples and nipples we break under our feet. Every day we are shortchanged just a little more. The night pressing down on the afternoon, throttling it. A wan sunrise later and later, every day trimmed like an old candle, you beg to give just an hour's more light. Feels like hurtling into vast darkness. The sky itself whistling of space, the black matter between stars, the red shift as light dies, warmth a temporary aberration, entropy as a season. No wonder winter solstice does not get a lot of attention as a spiritual or religious festival here in the West. Between religious symbolism and our very human physical, mental, and emotional discomforts this time can bring, we have had a long stretch where darkness, long and cold darkness, has not had very many champions. As you might have guessed, I would like to see that change. I would like to see us return to the wisdom that says that there is power and beauty and possibility in darkness. And there are those who share that wisdom today. The earth-centered religions often pay the most loving attention to darkness and to the longest night. Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities have said to us all, hey, I'm not so sure that this association of darkness with evil is in everybody's best interest, particularly mine and ours. Let's not forget the poets and the artists. Maxfield Parrish's deep and luminous colors that convince us that we are able to see darkness. So what is it about darkness that feels valuable and worthwhile? Well, it's restful. It's inviting. It draws the viewer into a perspective on the world that we don't often encounter in much of our daily lives. And when we do in the evenings, we often flip on a light to avoid it. Once upon a time, I lived in Ireland, and I traveled around a lot. And one day, I managed to find myself at a place called Newgrange. Newgrange is a place where there was a prehistoric passage tomb. It was this gigantic structure that when people started to explore it originally, they just thought it was a lump with a whole bunch of grass on top. But in truth, it is a gigantic burial mound. And it was built with great decoration on the outside. White and black stones in a pattern, a gigantic carved stone in front of the entrance. The Irish reconstructed it, and now it is a place you can go and explore. It's got a little museum, and unless things have changed, you can go inside the passage tomb, into the central chamber. The tomb happens to be built that such on the winter solstice, and literally only on the solstice, the light of the following sunrise travels down the top of the passage and illuminates this central chamber brilliantly. It reveals the burial chambers and the stone carvings, and to be honest, the exquisite ingenuity of the ancient people who built it. And so I was there, and I was fortunate enough to be on time for a tour. And so I and a few other people, maybe a dozen at most, it's not very big, were taken into the tomb, into that central chamber, while it was dimly lit with artificial light so that we could find our way in. And we found spots for each of us to stand, and then the lights faded to darkness. Deep, deep, no lights whatsoever darkness. There was nothing to see. And we stood there for a while, as though it were the winter solstice night. And then, with no warning, a hint of light crept down the top of the passage. And that light grew and grew and grew, the closest possible replica of sunrise on the solstice. And even though it was an echo of that experience, it was so powerful to have been in a place that was so dark and so safe and so restful, and then to have this moment of brilliant light. How many of you go for walks on nights of the full moon? A few, okay. Excellent, excellent. I love walking out in my garden on the full moon because the paths are visible and I get to see the world with different light, but I get to enjoy that dimness. How many of you have noticed that there are actually shadows that you can see at night? Yeah. It's not just the silhouettes of trees against the stars, but they cast shadows on the ground. Think for a moment. How often do we hear about the psychological and physiological and spiritual value of experiencing darkness? Not that often. Not that many of us actually really move into darkness. But science does remind us with warnings against light pollution, right? How damaging all of these nighttime lights are to plants and migratory birds and insects, and to us too. Our screens make it harder to sleep. Cherishing our darkness is pretty countercultural, but it's also incredibly valuable. Think for a moment, was there ever a time when you liked to sit in, maybe not absolute darkness, but a very, very dim room? For me, it was college. I liked to have my bedroom lit with some candlelight, put on some music, sit in my rocking chair, and just be. Enjoy the darkness, being still and quiet with myself. Now, of course, if I try that, I fall asleep very, very quickly. And it's likely because I've been doing too much. And so today, most days, I make sure there's enough light staying on to keep me awake until it's time for bed. But I remember those days fondly, and every so often I go sit out on my deck under a starlit sky and have a similar experience. O'Driscoll continues, "We are driven to turn on the lights at the first sign of darkness, to drive it away." And that's part of the challenge that we face. This frenzied culture that works hard to keep us going, doing. Time for deep introspection and reflection is not often encouraged. But the darkness asks us each to be with only ourselves and only our thoughts. It is in this darkness where we can commune with Spirit in waking dreams or in sleep, in meditation, in visionary and imaginative work. The darkness gives us time to sort through things. It gives us space and distance from everything that surrounds us. It allows us rest and quiet. My goodness, that sounds nice, doesn't it? Space and distance, rest and quiet, perhaps even deep introspection and reflection. So I have to ask you, and then I'll tell you my answer. Is deep introspection and reflection what you did last night on the night of the solstice? Did you have space and distance, rest and quiet? I'm seeing a lot of no, not so much. Maybe when you fell asleep. Neither did I. We're not alone in this. But fortunately, we all have the rest of the winter to try again. The night tonight will be a little shorter than last night, but not so much that it matters. I would like to suggest that you give yourself the opportunity in the coming weeks for more darkness than you might normally choose. Wendell Berry, who is a poet, a farmer, and an environmental advocate, writes, "To go into the dark with a light is to know the light. To go into the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark. Go without sight, and find that the dark too blossoms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings." Learning to cherish the darkness, to experience and only sometimes see the beauty of it, requires us to be willing to let go of the primacy of a sense that many of us use all the time: sight. Discovering that darkness can be luminous requires most of us to use our eyes differently, to rely on other senses, to be more still, more slow than we often are, to find our own dark feet and dark wings. If you're somebody who wears glasses, you can give yourself a nice slow descent into darkness, using your eyes less and less, simply by taking them off. So speaking of changing how we use our senses, I'm hoping you are hearing, that you're experiencing the words dark and darkness right now with a little bit more awe and affection rather than trepidation or discomfort. The more that I use them, and the more that we talk about different ways to be in it. Remember what Dana O'Driscoll told us. Negative associations with darkness are not about the darkness itself, but about how people have used it as symbol and metaphor and description. If you need another reminder, there are always the words of David White in Sweet Darkness. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. When your vision has gone, no part of the world can find you. Time to go into the dark where the night has eyes to recognize its own. There, you can be sure you are not beyond love. The dark will be your home tonight. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. You must learn one thing. The world was made to be free in. Give up all the other worlds, except the one to which you belong. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn. Anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. Anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. This is such important teaching from both the poet and the darkness itself. Rest your eyes, rest your attention, rest your body. Be with yourself. Discover what it is that you most are, what you most need. what brings you most to life. This is a gift of the longest night, of darkness, an opportunity to stop focusing on the rest of the world and to be with yourself and with the others who love and live in this deep and luminous darkness as well. And so I invite you to take a moment in stillness now and imagine how you might do that in the darkness, even though this isn't that dark moment, so that you might be able to explore it and enjoy it. Our closing hymn is number 1055 in the Teal hymnal. Number 1055, please rise in body or in spirit as we sing together. Let us join in speaking our unison benediction. It's in your order of service and in the description online. Engage with the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. And please be seated and remain for our postlude.